But welcome.
Thanks so much, Michael. Always a pleasure to be here with you.
Thank you. And before we start today's program, we want to remind our viewers that we are probably at the present time when they are watching the program, still in India, traveling, meeting the American consuls, doing lectures. And if you or any of your friends, relatives need any assistance in visa processing matters, please let us know and we'll try to help you.
Exactly. If there's anything that we can do to assist you, your family members on the other side, please let us know. Please send us an email. Please call our office. We'll be more than happy to assist you in any way we can.
An interesting subject we have never talked about. First time we are talking. Some people have been talking to us, asking questions, being concerned about their privacy. And the topic of this discussion is, who is watching you? And the intelligence is being collected by the information that we are giving to our viewers. Listen, CIA, State Department, FBI, NSA, which is the National Security Agency, Defense Intelligence, Department of Homeland Security, an investigation done by FBI, FBI's case agents, terrorist review and examination, and database that is being used by FBI, local and state police, customs, State Department, TSA. They say that there are 700,000 people who are on a terrorist watch list. Now, these efforts were really made starting the security because of the reason was security, because of terrorism. They wanted to monitor about the terrorists and all that. The question is, it's gone much overboard that. Right now, that had gone increasing. I read somewhere it said more than 1 billion calls are the information, pieces of information is in the database. Now, they're not all terrorists or even under suspicion. I would say, that it's reasonable because it's a matter of security here. It's reasonable to have some kind of programs to, if there's a suspicion or if there's some information, credible information to do that. But just keeping the record of every international call or email, as they say, we don't know. I'm just saying this guy Snowden that revealed all that information is brought this, opened up this Pandora's box, of course.
That's right, yeah.
So in this process, people are complaining that some innocent persons with nothing to do, their privacy is compromised. And their government is able to look at those matters personal, which they should not be. Now, if your email is being watched, do you know? Are your phone calls being tapped? Do you know? Yes or no? Nobody knows for 100%. But probably yes. International, I'm saying, not much of domestic. And therefore, the issue here is what can be done. Basically, recently, the only thing I can tell you in addition to this, that there's a federal court in the United States recently who passed a decision saying that these are unconstitutional. Warrantless holding on the phones and emails and everything is unconstitutional, and that is a decision bothering the government a lot, and they are now going to decide what has to be done. But what can you say on this subject about what is being done is right or wrong, and what can be done better or what?
Well, with regard to the issue of privacy, Michael, and I think that you would agree with me, but of course, feel free to throw in here. Obviously, there is a certain amount of monitoring that we do want to have. Obviously, while you and I both travel frequently and we get to the security checkpoints at the airports, we're frustrated by the fact that we have to, go through everything with a microscope or a fine-tooth comb. We also know that there's a reason for that. So there's a very delicate balance that's struck between security and
versus privacy.
And privacy. Yeah. So the question becomes, where is that delicate balance, and where is it too intrusive? And I think that obviously the things that Snowden is disclosing slowly as time goes on about the issues of phone call monitoring that may have gone on, well, yeah, there is a hint of intrusiveness, but by the same token, we don't know all the details, and we don't know what security issues may have been involved and the reasons why these calls were being made. In the United States, we have an organization called the ACLU, the American Civil Liberties Organization. And the ACLU is the watchdog to make sure that individuals' privacy rights under the U.S. Constitution are not violated. And what they'll do is that organization will take up certain cases and bring them to the Supreme Court, bring them to the federal courts. And their lawyers are, we know their lawyers, at least the lawyers at the ACLU who are handle immigration issues. They are brilliant attorneys as far as I'm concerned. I've read some of their decisions and they're absolutely brilliant. And they are out to protect the privacy rights or the constitutional rights of individuals. So there's a watchdog, if you will, at least here in the United States. I don't know that the ACLU is taking up the international issues, because I think that with regard to the international issues, I don't know that there is there's a watchdog internationally. Maybe there are certain treaties and certain protocols, like, they have the Vienna Protocol and, this protocol and that protocol. There may be special protocols and ways in which people can watch over these issues. But I think that my personal opinion, and again, it's only my personal opinion, is that it's a very delicate balance that's struck between privacy and the intrusiveness that's necessary to provide for our national security. And I think most people, probably most of our viewers, would agree that there is a certain amount that we're going to permit.
Certainly.
Right? Because it serves the nation's interest. And then what ends up happening is that when we have an issue, an incident like we did in 9/11, then of course what that does is it tips the scales a little bit, because all of a sudden we realize, well, there were some deficiencies. Our technology may not have been as good. Our on-the-ground intelligence may not have been as good as we had hoped. And as a result of that, the scales get tipped a little bit. And then, of course, what we hope is that those watchdogs will tip the scales back over time. But I think that what ends up happening is that we're just all striving for that balance.
Well, that's what I mean. Some people think that it's overboard, it's too much of it. So I agree with you 100%. We need a security, and for the security, there are certain things that are needed to be done. The important thing is balancing
Exactly.
between security and also these, what you call is privacy.
Exactly.
So that's where the balance has to be. Some changes are, in my opinion, warranted.
Right. Well,
Some changes.
And I think that the changes are warranted as a result, I think, as technology moves forward and technology increases, and we have the ability to scan data for security issues. I think that what ends up happening, again, is that there's this natural tipping that goes on.
Yes, exactly.
So we have to wait for that balance to come back. And it could be that the issues that have resulted from, what Snowden was exposed to may have been the cusp of technology, which maybe led him to be very frustrated with the intrusiveness, which of course led him to leave and to start to disclose this information.
That's where actually I saw an article in the TV program that when they initially started this, the technology was not that as it is today.
That's right.
It was limited,
exactly
and that
right.
was okay, and that was working effectively. There were not too much of intrusion into the personal lives of the people.
Exactly.
With the technology changing, I know got Facebook, Google, this, that. I'm not the technology person, but I know and the social media, they are all over the place. And everything going on is very difficult to really curb or stop or keep those things as a secret.
Right.
And that's where we are talking about balancing security versus privacy.
That's right. But going to the social media issue, Michael, and I think it's a really good one, because we know from our visits to the U.S. consulate offices and also from our discussions with USCIS and the immigration authorities in the United States and CBP, Customs Border Protection, and ICE, we know that they're using social media. We know that they're using Google frequently to find answers to certain questions. By way of example, if you have, and I've actually encountered this, this at a USCIS interview at the district office, where I'll be sitting with an officer and my clients will be sitting there during an interview, and they'll say, oh, so why does your social media, why does your Facebook account say that you're single when you're here for a marriage case? And that's a very interesting thing. So some people have good answers, and the answer is, usually that they don't update their social media, and some people don't have answers for those questions. But the fact of the matter is that in the context of a family-based petition, we know that they're using social media, for example, to find out about relations. In the business context, we know that they're using social media, actually not social, Google. They're using Google Earth to find out whether or not organizations have viable offices. So what they're doing is they're going to Google Earth and they're checking to see whether or not a new company, L1A Visa, has a viable business location.
So what you are saying that if a person is actually married, but he's putting on a single on the media, trying to maybe have something on the side or just for fun purposes or whatever, enjoying that kind of.
Well, that's a legitimate explanation as to why he may have put single, but I'm not going to go there.
When the counsel confronts him, then he's kind of stuck.
That's
right. There's something wrong. If nothing else, the counsel at least put this case in investigation to verify whether he really married or single.
That's right.
So be careful when you make those kind of claims which are not true.
Exactly. Or, for example, if an individual has Facebook and they've said that they have a bona fide marriage in India, and let's say they've had a full-blown Patel wedding in Gujarat, and you have pictures of a wedding on Facebook which don't have 5,000 people and don't walk around the fire, then obviously there's going to be a question as to whether or not that's a bona fide marriage. So the social media is, social media is really a valuable tool and valuable intelligence to the immigration officers who are interviewing these cases. Yeah.
Okay, let's change another subject here, which is a recent thing, that I have got a lot of emails and calls from people who have problems with getting visitor visas, and they have a hard time. There's an agency called BLS that handles the applications, collecting the money, and processing the cases. But the complaints that I'm getting say that it's like a back and forth game, ping pong game, you can call, as we say. Mm-hmm. This application not complete, they return and go back and forth. Finally, it's in after 2-3 times, and then they're supposed to send it to the consulate, and then at some point they send it. Nobody knows actually. This is all between the consulate and the BLS what is happening.
Right.
But the problems have been happening a lot, and we understand that. And I'm not saying anything about the consulate. I believe actually that our consulate officers, Indian, also are working hard and trying to do their best. But the system is broken, as we said.
Right.
System is broken, and BLS is a problem if it is. It looks like it is, because from what I have heard recently, that the Indian government is trying to change BLS into some other agency and good outsourcing company. So that's what is happening, and we hopefully that it will be probably resolved in some way or the other. The tip
right.
that I'm giving is this. Now, first of all, it hurts a lot of people. It hurts the tourism. People get fed up, they say, hell with it, who want to go to India or go to some other country. If I'm not getting
That's right. It hurts tourism in India,
of course. Business also, yeah. Business people travel all this time to back and forth. Yeah. And if they I have actual cases that they've been frustrated, and the event goes away. They're going for a seminar, they don't get a visa to go for a seminar in time.
They said, forget it.
So all these problems are really that they should not be. Now, what is my tip here? The tip here is, first of all, if you're an Indian origin citizen, U.S. citizen of Indian origin, go for OCI card. Overseas citizen of India, you don't need a visa then. Once you have OCI card lifetime, you go back to India whenever, whatever time you want to stay. It's always a very good idea to do that. Now, if you're not a person of Indian origin or you don't want to apply for OCI, get a 5-year visitor or entry visa, even if you're not in a rush now.
You pay a little more.
Yeah, but I'm saying you're not in a rush. People wait a lot of times when the emergency comes. A marriage comes in, mm-hmm. Some death comes in, some problem comes in, sudden thing comes in.
Right.
But you don't know when that may happen. Right. It's a good idea that without even emergencies, just get a 5-year visa on your passport. Right. Anytime you need to go, you just get a ticket and travel to India.
Exactly.
So that's the good. The other thing, Last thing is to pray God. Pray God that good sense will prevail over those who are responsible for this problem. And hopeful, everything, God willing, inshallah, everything will be right.
Exactly. So I think with that, we're going to have to take a break, or actually, I think we're at the end of our time.
End of the time. There's no break here. Well, we thank you very much for watching the program, and all of you for watching the program. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, please send us an email, and we'll be more than happy to respond to you. Thank you very much, and goodbye.
Just edit out the... I'm not sure.
We went on to come back on the next day, go for recording. Prakash? Prakash there? Do we do one more or two more? Yeah, but do we do one more or do we do two more now?
Your choice.
What's this date?
How many needs, no? Until we come back from India.
Okay.
We're coming back on
25th.
28th.
I'm on 25th.
Yeah. I'm coming on 28th, so we can do maybe February 1st or 2nd. So until, if you are okay until February 1st or 2nd, we do two more or one more?
We did two more, because 2-2 is the last.
2-2 is the last one we just did?
So I have 2-9 till 2-9. So, but you can go for 2-2. If February
Okay.
You until
Okay.
2-9, February 9? No,
Yeah,
okay.
till we have Prakash gave me till February 9.
We have it. We have to
No,
do
he's
until then.
saying, no,
We
he's,
have to until then. Instead, you are coming by February 1st, you can come for mine.
Coming on February 9th.
No.
So you are okay with this one more program. You are okay up to what date?
26th
26th
of January.
January. So we have to do one more. Two more then.
okay.
2 more, yeah, that's right.
Okay, fine.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Perfect. Thanks.
That's clear now.
Okay. It's clear for you. It's good.
प्यार किया तो डरना क्या. Let's do a Hindi song now. Okay.
Doom.
H1 ho, L1 ho, green card ho.
Go. You go.
Hello viewers, welcome to our program on Immigration and You. I am your immigration attorney Michael Fulwani, and once again we have with us attorney David Nachman, my partner. David, welcome.
Thanks so much, Michael. Always a
So,
pleasure to be here.
What's
with you.
happening now? We have a H1B season coming very soon.
We do. H-1B season is just beginning, but before we get into H-1B issues, Michael, I think we want to remind our viewers that Michael and I are still traveling in India, and probably by this time we've already covered New Delhi and Jaipur and Gujarat, and we're probably headed back to Mumbai. So if you or any family members or your friends have any questions, would like to meet with us, please feel free to email to us directly, call the office. You'll see the telephone number on your screen. Or, of course, you can contact our affiliated office in Mumbai and Bandra, and they will make arrangements for anyone who you would like to come see us. Also, if there's anyone in any professional organizations that you would like us to make a presentation to, please feel free to reach out for us, because we would love to be able to connect with you on that.
Okay, let's talk about H1B visas.
H-1B,
I have a
so-
couple of questions. First
Okay.
of all, why do people say that you must file or send your H1B application on March 31st? What's so important about March 31st?
Well, Michael, March, it's an excellent question. I get that question from many of our clients, and the answer is that the earliest date that you can file the H-1B petition is 6 months prior to the H-1B start date. The H-1B start date is October 1st. So we'll take 2014 as the example. Every year it's the same. October 1st, 2014 is the start date, and so we'll be filing 2014 H-1Bs starting on April 1st of 2014. So what we do is we send them out on March 31st with the expectation that they will be properly lodged for filing with the USCIS on April 1st, 2014.
So what happens if we file on April 7th, let us say?
Well, you could try to file on April 7th. The only problem is that, as you know, we don't know and we can't predict the uptake of H-1Bs. We don't know how long they're going to be available. Last year, we know that within the first 3 or 4 business days after the weekend of H-1B filings, all of the H-1Bs were gone. So if the economy is strong, and what we're hearing right now and seeing right now is that it is in fact strong, and predictions are that the future is going to be strong, right, then of course there is a high degree of reliability that the H-1Bs this year will be handled probably the same as last year and the same as it was several years ago, as a lottery, where all of the H-1Bs within the first 3 to 5 days in which they're submitted are aggregated by the USCIS, and then a lottery is held in which that lottery, they allegedly choose randomly the H-1Bs that will be considered toward the cap.
So now, what happens in my case, H-1B application doesn't make it in the lottery? Will my money be gone?
Well, no, your money won't be gone, but what will happen is that they should be returning the money, your filing fees, and all the forms if your H-1B is not chosen. So what are some of the things that you can do to ensure that it's chosen? Well, number one, of course, is you can file as early as possible, and that is, as we're saying, as close to March 31st, or hopefully going out the door on March 31st as much as possible. Also, one of the things that you can do, there's something called an LCA, a labor condition application, and several years ago it was taking 5 days to get an LCA, a labor condition application, back in the mail. So you don't have to wait until April 1st or March 31st to do your LCA. You can do the LCA in advance. The LCA is a document that is blessed by the U.S. Department of Labor. So when you submit it, rather than to ask for, for 3 full years from April 1st, you just back it up a little bit and cut a few days off on the end, and then of course you can get the LCA in time.
So all this work that you are saying that you can do, you really mean the employer. Because the person that is applying, if I am applying for H-1 visa, I cannot apply myself. Right?
Well,
I have to have, in most instances, an employer who's willing to give a job offer. Right. You can create your employer and all that, but basically it is a company, it's an employer who's offering a job.
Right. H-1B, right, Michael. H-1B sponsorship requires the employer to be the sponsor. It requires the employer to make several representations, and it's employer specific. Right. However, there is something called concurrent H-1B, so you can apply for several H-1Bs with different employers at the same time. And the other thing that a lot of people don't realize is that you can do part-time H-1Bs. So H-1Bs don't have to be on a full-time basis, they can also be on a part-time basis. Now, one of the other things that we should point out is that what we're talking about here is we're focusing in on the cap, and we want to make our viewers aware that there are deadlines, certain deadlines that they have to be mindful of if they're thinking about doing H-1Bs for this fiscal year. However, there are also cap-exempt organizations. So, for example, government research organizations, their affiliates, and or academic institutions of higher learning, okay, are exempt from the H-1B cap. So those organizations are doing H-1Bs throughout the year. They don't have to worry about this March 31st deadline to get the filing in by April 1st.
So let's
now,
say,
there's also another H-1B,
yeah.
Michael. It actually came up recently. I got an inquiry, and this is not going to be pertinent to all of our viewers. However, the U.S. Department of Defense, there's something called the DoD H-1B, Department of Defense H-1B, which is really a nice little tool. So if your organization is a defense contractor, you can actually take advantage of what's called the DoD H-1B, and that's not a cap-exempt H-1B. So that's a nice little tool that we've been able to use for our defense contracting firms to be able to allow them to circumvent the H-1B cap.
So let's say I have an MBA degree and I have a store, Gujarati, Nadiyad Gujarati store, grocery store here. And they say, okay, we will sponsor you. You see any problem there?
Well, the only issue here, Michael, is that if you have an individual who's going to work for a grocery store, the most important thing that we have to focus in on is what is the position that that individual is going to hold, because H-1B means that it's for professional and specialty occupation workers. It means that these are individuals who have the equivalence of a U.S. baccalaureate degree, okay, which is something that we can look at in several ways. One is that they actually have the degree. Two is that they have a combination of education and experience. Or three, they have pure experience, which is used under the rule. It's called the 3-to-1 rule, where 3 years of education, 3 years of experience, professional level experience, is equal to 1 year of baccalaureate degree education. So if you have an individual who has 12 years of work experience, professional level, that equates to the potential of a baccalaureate degree.
So what I give an example to most people, let us say you need a full glass of orange juice, but you have only 3/4 full of orange juice. So in bringing this to an equivalency, you find some orange juice, another 25-30% of orange juice, put into that orange juice to orange juice, not apple juice.
Exactly.
So it's a combination of this 3/4 comes from the education, 1/4 comes from the experience, and A plus B is equal to C. That's what you're saying.
Exactly.
Now, what you're saying then, this job that is being offered has to be then in the field of education and experience of the person.
That's right. Well, it doesn't necessarily have to be in the field. I think what it is that it has to be closely linked. So I always give an example. I teach paralegals at Fairleigh Dickinson University in Madison, and what I often tell them is that it's a good idea to try to link it as much as possible. And I always give an example where a couple of years ago, it was many years ago, I did a case for an H-1B. It was a gem cutter. And what she was doing is she had a background, actually her degree was in biology. And what we did is we made an argument to the government that there's a healing value of gemstones, and that she was involved in understanding the healing value of gemstones. Now, that was a connection, and probably a very, very difficult, I call that a lot of creative lawyering, where we were linking her degree to what she was doing. So I don't know today whether you would be able to get a case like that through. But I think, for example, if you had an individual who's, let's say, an IT professional, if they have a bachelor's degree in engineering, in a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering, or a bachelor's degree in IT, or something that's closely related, I think you'd be able to make a good argument to get the case through.
Closely related, in somehow,
Exactly.
in some form, in some shape.
Correct.
That education and experience has to be related to the job duties that the person is going to perform.
Exactly.
It's very important.
Exactly. Super important. And yeah.
Who pays the fees for H-1B? If I'm an applicant, is it okay for me to pay the fees, or employer has to pay the fees?
Well, here's the thing, is that the employer technically is supposed to pay the fees. There's certain fees that the employer has to pay, and there's certain fees that the employee has to pay. But the employer absolutely positively has to pay the Department of Labor training fee. So the Department of Labor training fee is a fee that comes under it's a fee that's paid in connection with the H-1B, where that money is put into a fund where the Department of Labor divvies out those monies in the United States as grants to try to train highly skilled workers here in the United States to be able to take the jobs that purportedly are being filled now with H-1B
So
workers.
what kind of acts on the part of the H-1B applicant or a holder of H-1B or the employer of H-1B happen or do that constitute violation of the H-1B laws? In other words, you had mentioned something about a wage. That
Right,
wage
well,
has to be
right.
paid according to LCA.
Right. Well, one of the
Whatever
things,
it is.
one of the things that's very important, of course, and all employers, H-1B employers who may be viewing this video probably know, is that you must pay the H-1B wage. If you're paying less than the H-1B wage, you're potentially opening yourself up to, number one, an audit by the U.S. Department of Labor. And just so everyone knows, probably about 50% of the H-1Bs are going to be site visited, which means that they're going to go out and they're going to be USCIS, FDNS, the Fraud Detection and National Security Division, is going to be sending people out to make sure that the H-1Bs are bona fide H-1Bs and the individuals who are serving in H-1B status are actually being paid the amount that was represented in the documents.
So let us say that I am an H-1B employer in IT, and I don't have a customer yet. So I tell the H-1B person, hold it, wait, maybe a month or two. When the project comes, then I'll send you. Right now you hold. People call it a benching.
Yeah,
What's the problem
that's
with
right.
benching?
Well,
the employer doesn't have a job right now. Hold
right.
it, wait for it. The customer comes in, I'll send you there.
That's right, Michael. The problem with benching is that what you're essentially doing is putting the person into hiatus, and you're not allowed to do that. You have to be paying them while they're employed.